This is a video for Unit 3 of Math 1001. It will cover measures of length converting units. Before we get into the practice problems, let's make sure that we're aware of our units of length in the English system and how they compare to each other. We see this first table, 12 inches is equal to 1 foot, 3 feet is equal to 1 yard, and 5,280 feet is equal to 1 mile. Now, if we want to compare English with their metric equivalents, 1 inch is approximately, that's what this squiggly equal sign means, approximately. 1 inch is approximately 2.54 centimeters. 1 foot is approximately 30.48 centimeters. 1 yard is approximately 91.44 centimeters. And 1 mile is approximately 1.61 kilometers. We will use these equivalences to along with a method called dimensional analysis to convert measures of length. To be able to do this dimensional analysis, though, we need to have what we call conversion factors. A conversion factor is just a fancy way of writing the number 1 as a fraction. So what we could think of, conversion factors are two things that equal each other, one right on top of the other. So 12 inches over 1 foot is a conversion factor. And so is 1 foot over 12 inches. Because what you can think about is 12 inches is the same thing as 1 foot, and these would cancel out to 1. Same thing here. So if we were writing other conversion factors, 3 feet is the same as 1 yard, or we could say 1 yard is the same thing as 3 feet. Going down here with the English and metric equivalents, we could say 1 inch is approximately 2.54 centimeters. 1 mile is approximately 1.61 kilometers, or 1.61 kilometers is approximately 1 mile. So notice with each equivalent that you have two possible conversion factors you could write. And what we're going to do is we're going to use these conversion factors for this method called dimensional analysis. And we're going to pick the conversion factor that is most helpful for us. And the way we'll do that is we'll pick the one that lets us cancel out things from the top of a fraction and the bottom of a fraction. So let's do some problems. Okay, so first of all, we need to convert 6 yards to feet. So before we do that, it would help if we had an equivalence. So from that last page, we just learned that 1 yard is equal to 3 feet. Okay, which means our conversion factors, we have 1 yard over 3 feet, or 3 feet over 1 yard. So one of those is going to help us. So let's figure out which one it's going to be. So our goal is to start with yards and end up with feet. So I'm going to start with yards, 6 yards. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by one of my conversion factors, because remember, my conversion factors, they would just simplify to 1, and multiplying by 1 doesn't change anything. I'm going to multiply by a conversion factor so that I end up with the unit I'm trying to find, which in this case is feet. So since I have yards, I need to cancel out yards somehow, so I'll choose the second conversion factor that has yards on the bottom. So I'll multiply times 3 feet over 1 yard, and I can think about this as just over a 1 if I want to. And now notice what happens. Yard, the unit on the top and the bottom, cancels. So I notice that all I have left is feet, which is exactly my goal. I wanted to convert to feet. So this is 6 times 3, that's 18, and then the unit I have left is feet. So 6 yards is 18 feet. Okay, so let's move on to a new one. Let's convert 45 inches to feet. So again, we need our equivalents to help us get started. So if we're talking about inches and feet, we know that 12 inches is 1 foot. So therefore, our conversion factors, we can either do 12 inches over 1 foot or 1 foot over 12 inches. And we'll choose the one that lets us cancel out whatever our original is. So we're starting with 45 inches and we're trying to get to feet. Okay, so since I want to cancel out inches, I'm going to do 1 foot over 12 inches. I'm going to choose that conversion factor. That lets me cancel out inches here and inches there. So now my answer, I can think of this as over a 1. I can see in the numerator, I have a 45 times 1 foot, and in my denominator, a 1 times 12. So I can think of this as 45 over 12 feet. And I can get 45 over 12. I can just go to my calculator real quick. 45 divided by 12, and I get 3.75. So this is 3.75 feet. So 45 inches is 3.75 feet. Okay, so let's do another one. So this one, Atlanta Braves pitcher Max Fried, his average fastball speed during the 2020 season was 94 miles per hour. So that's important, 94 miles per hour. How fast is that in feet per second? So we're trying to get feet per second. Okay. Well, so let's think about what we have right now. So we have 94 miles per hour. But let's decode that for a minute. That's 94 miles per 1 hour. So I see I have multiple units going on now because I have a rate. I have a mile to deal with and an hour. My goal is feet per second. So I want to change this mile somehow to feet and this hour somehow to seconds. So let's think about what those equivalences would be to get some conversion factors. Let's first deal with the miles, getting those to feet. We know from that front page, 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. And if we're talking about hours, we need to get hours eventually to seconds. Well, I might have to stop over at minutes along the way. 1 hour is 60 minutes, and I know that 1 minute is 60 seconds. So those are my equivalences I'm going to use to help me get there. All right, I'm going to focus on the miles, getting those to feet first, and then I'll focus on the hour, trying to get it to seconds. So let's multiply. If I want to get rid of my miles, well, 1 mile is 5,280 feet, but I want to cancel out miles, so I'm going to put the 1 mile on the bottom so that they will cancel, and 5,280 feet on top. And now I see that my miles are canceled, and I've got feet like I want. All right, now I need to change my hours to seconds, so I can just keep going. I need to cancel out that hour, so it's going to have to go on the top. 1 hour is the same thing as 60 minutes. So hour cancels with hour. And so notice what I have. If I stopped now, I'd have feet per minute as my unit, but I don't want feet per minute, I want feet per second. So I need to change these minutes. So what will that be? Multiply. I need to cancel out the minutes, so I'm going to put it at the top now to cancel out. 1 minute is 60 seconds. And now let's get, I see that my minutes cancel with my minutes. And what you can see, I have feet per second left. And that's what I was trying to get to. So now I can do my multiplication. So this will be equal to, on my numerator, I see that I have a 94 times a 5,280 with feet. And on my denominator, I see some ones, but I see a 60 times 60 will be my seconds. So I need to plug that in my calculator. Make sure you're careful when you plug this in so that you are multiplying things out correctly. I'm going to use my alpha y equals in that top one n/d to get a fraction. In the numerator, I have 94 times 5,280. And in my denominator, I have 60 times 60. And that ends up being 2,068 over 15. I'm going to go ahead and get that approximated as a decimal. So if I want to change this to a decimal, we can always just click math and go down to that second one, decimal, and it changes that last answer into a decimal. So 137.86, I'm just going to round to 2 decimal places. We'll do that. We get 137.86 we'll say 87 feet per second. So that's how we handle the conversions. If we have a rate, we started something like miles per hour. We do the same thing, it's just we have to cancel out the miles, and then we have to cancel out the hours to get to seconds. Okay, let's do another one. All right, so here's a situation. We need a new kitchen table, and the area we have in our kitchen is 4 feet by 6 feet is where we can put our table. We look on, we're going shopping. We found a table that's listed as 50 inches by 60 inches, and we want to know if it's going to fit in my space. Well, right now they have different units, so I can't tell right away. So I need to convert either my feet to inches or my inches to feet to compare them in the same unit. So maybe I'll think about, here's my rectangular area, and it's 4 feet by 6 feet. So I'm going to change both of those over to inches just to see what they are in inches and then compare that to the table I bought. So 4 feet, if I want to get it in inches, well, I need my feet to cancel. So I'm going to put feet on the bottom, and that's compared to 12 inches. Oops, that should be a multiply, excuse me. So what do we get there? The feet cancel, and 4 times 12 is 48 inches. So this 4 feet on the side is the same thing as 48 inches. And then the 6 feet, we'll do the same thing. We'll do 12 inches over 1 foot as our conversion factor so that the feet cancel. And I get 6 times 12, that's 72. So 72 inches. So the 6 feet is 72 inches. So let's go back to our question. We have a 4 foot by 6 foot area, which now we know is a 48 inch by 72 inch area. Can I fit a 50 inch by 60 inch table? Well, this dimension here is only 48 inches, and both of these are bigger than 48. So the answer is no, it's not going to fit. Okay, so what we've done is we've done that conversion so that we can figure out what's going on. All right, so let's convert another one. Let's do another question. So we all have heard of 10K races. A 10K race is 10 kilometers long, but what is that in miles? What would that be in our English system that we're used to thinking about miles? So I need some sort of equivalence to help me. Well, from that beginning slide, I was told that 1 mile is approximately 1.61 kilometers. So I'm going to use that to make a conversion factor. So I have 10 kilometers that I want to convert to miles. So I need to cancel out kilometers. So I'm going to put the 1.61 kilometers on the bottom and the 1 mile on the top. The kilometers cancel, and I'll just have miles as my unit. So now I notice I'll have, 10 miles on the top and 1.61 on the bottom. So I need to do the 10 divided by 1.61. So 10 divided by 1.61 is 6.21. And we'll just go to 2 decimal places here. So this is 6.21 miles. Okay. So one thing I've noticed before with these conversions is a lot of times it's hard to decide should you multiply or should you divide. But if you set up the correct conversion factor so that your units cancel, then you'll always know which one is in the numerator and which one's in the denominator, or if they're both in the numerator. It'll always be clear with this dimensional analysis. Okay, let's do one more example with this length. So we talked about a 10K, that's one sort of race. Let's talk about a marathon now. So a marathon is a race that is 26.2 miles long, and we want to figure out what is that in kilometers. Well, just like before, we know that 1 mile is 1.61 kilometers, and that's our equivalence we're going to use. I guess technically it's not exactly that, so we'll change it to approximately. 1 mile is approximately 1.61 kilometers. So let's change this over. So 26.2 miles, and now I want to get rid of the miles, So for this equivalence over here, I'm going to put the mile part on the bottom and the kilometer part on top. And what that does is makes my miles cancel just like I wanted them to. So this will be 26.2 times 1.61 kilometers. And we'll multiply that out real quick. 26.2 times 1.61. We end up with that. So we'll just go to 2 decimal places. 42.18 kilometers is my answer. So a marathon is 26.2 miles, or you could say it's 42.18 kilometers.